weekend of January 17th, 2016. That's right, folks. It is 1 week from the 2015 Control Trends Awards that will be held in Orlando, Florida at the Hard Rock Live next Sunday night between 6:30 and 9:30. But I get ahead of myself. Let me introduce my co-host. Let me introduce my co-host, the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only Control Trends Award given Control Trends man, Kenny Smyers from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Rumor has it that you will be quarterbacking in place of Ben Roethlisberger today. Any truth to that?
No, there's no truth at all to that. And he's limping onto the field. He's got a bad shoulder. We're losing. Antonio Brown's not going to play. Apparently, it's a rough sport, but it's going to be interesting. It's so many good teams, and everybody in Pittsburgh's excited. We have Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's Eve holidays, and then we have every time the Steelers are in a playoff game, it's another holiday. So it's just amazing to be part of a successful organization, but it's going to be a tough game. Denver up at their home field is very, very hard to beat. So it's going to be a heck of a game. And listen, I just want to say, as you mentioned, this banner right here, this Control Trends Awards banner, it's every time I set it up and get the ready for our show, I get excited because the closer we get, this thing's going to be tucked up and put in a suitcase and sent down to Orlando here next week. So the next time the Control Trends community see this banner, it will be on a pipe stand down there at one of the photo ops at the Hard Rock Cafe.
Oh, it's going to be spectacular, Kenny. Can't wait. You and I have been really nailing the final details down. The show is going to be spectacular. Listen, we just put a link up on the website. You can get single-seated seats. Now you can buy those through Eventbrite. If you are a listener of this show, Kenny and I have sort of a special reward for you. If you do need a single-seat ticket, and again, if you look on the side of the page, if you know any of our platinum sponsors, some of them still have tickets left. So I think your first course is to reach out to one of them and ask if they have an extra ticket for you. But if you are in the position of needing to buy a ticket, and you are a listener to the show, which obviously you are, because otherwise you're not going to know about this, email either Kenny or myself, controltrends@gmail.com. Let us know you want a ticket. We will give you a discount code for a substantial discount off of the ticket price. So remember that. And Kenny, I tell you what, Scott Minch, man, that was pretty cool the way he brought that drone in. We should call him Captain Scott Minch from J2 Innovations, the way he was doing that drone. He was in Atlanta a couple weeks ago. We've got an interview that we'll play of him coming up a little bit later in the show. But anything you want to say before we get into it? I know we got 4 guests this week. We need to get them on. So anything you want to say before we
Well, the picture speaks 1,000 words, Eric. Here, Stacy McCammon from Stromquist did an outstanding job preparing our program. Can you see that?
Hold it up. There it is.
That's our program.
There we go. Looks great, man.
And again, Eric, 1,001 thanks to our sponsors, because without them, there is no show. As we know, these guys here all make it happen.
Yep.
So that's a preview of the program that we'll be handing out. And my goodness, like I say, we had this opportunity to feature some of those great heroes we have, the superheroes. We're going to see the great leaders, the CEOs, the presidents that make all these companies function and succeed year in and year out. And then we've got some deep dives into some excellent controls, some excellent products. And then we're going to wrap it up with just a reminder how everybody can logistically make the arrangements to get to Hard Rock Live in Orlando.
No, it's going to be fantastic. And rumor has it, as the song Prince goes, stop the press.
Vicki Vale.
Vicki Vale.
Vicki Vale.
Who's that? Vicki Vale. Vicki Vale will be making an appearance for 2015 Control Awards, as well as a couple of other superheroes. So get ready for that. And, Kenny, I got to tell you, man, I can't believe it's almost here. And I love and echo what you say. A special thanks to our sponsors that make all this possible. It is going to be a spectacular time. Get your best clothes on, come walk the red carpet, have your pictures taken, be part of the excitement and the festivity that it is, or the Control Trends Awards. So with that, Kenny, let's get right to it. We got some finalists that we want to go get on the show before the voting ends, Tuesday the 19th. You do have to Tuesday to vote. So Kenny, introduce our first guest.
Derek, our first guest is ATS Automation. We have Brian Allen with us. ATS is out of Seattle, Washington. And I'll tell you what, these guys are really leaders when it comes to engineering, installing, integrating, and services of the very best facility management systems. They specialize in the technologies that include Allerton, Phoenix Controls, Air Acuity, Convergent Technologies, ATS Automation is a distributor for those products in their respective marketplaces. Convergent Technologies partners with ATS on key products to provide greater scope and depth to the building solutions, and ATS Automation has a deep history with all four companies in delivering quality products, installations, and support. Welcome to the show.
Welcome, guys.
Okay, well, thank you. I'm thrilled to be here.
Well, it's so great to have you too. And Brian, you may know that the global Control Trends community nominated you guys for the Control Trends Systems Integrator of the Year, which is kind of if you think about it, it's a great honor because Kenny and I, it's a new category at the Control Trends Awards. We didn't nominate anybody. And Brian, we had over 80 nominees. We took the top 7 vote getters, and you guys are recognized by your peers as being one of the top, not just in the United States, but around the globe.
Well, that's exciting, obviously, for us, and we're thrilled to be part of that community, and so thank you for the honor.
Oh, you're very, very welcome.
So, Brian, tell us a little bit more about ATS, how you got started.
Well, my business partner, Tom Easton, and I bought ATS in 1998. ATS itself was formed in 1986. And we very proudly have built it from a single location in Seattle, where we have offices throughout the northwestern United States. And now we do business almost in every state with some national clients.
Oh, that's fantastic. I tell you what, it seems like that is really a trend we've been tracking with Jim Young and Howard Berger from Ibicon Realcomm. Seems like the real estate community is really looking for somebody that can handle all their properties coast to coast. So that's fantastic. And so you guys, tell us about the product portfolios that you guys handle.
Well, ATS is primarily an Allerton rep, and then we are also in quite a few of our locations, a Phoenix Controls rep and an Acuity rep. And then in select offices, we do quite a bit of fire and security work. We also have energy offerings kind of to our client base itself.
Yeah, it looks like you guys also do a lot with the energy monitoring. It looks like you, among other things, you guys do Sky Foundry and...
Yep, Sky Spark, we've done some rather large projects, real proud of those, and that's spreading now throughout our offering. That geographically, we have Sky Spark offerings just about in every office now.
Okay, well, cool. Well, so Brian, tell us, what makes a great systems integrator like ATS?
It might be the easiest question you'll ask in this interview, and the reason is you're not looking at him, I'll tell you that much. It is the people we have here. We're very proud of the team that we've assembled. We have a very distinct recruiting philosophy, and we're constantly at it, and we have fantastic people, and it's the people that go out and make systems work.
So, Brian, it looks like you got your start with Siemens. So tell us a little bit about your individual background.
Yeah, when I went to work in this business, I had hair. And
Me too.
I did not start with Siemens. I started with their 5-down predecessor. I started with the Powers Regulator Company, and we used to power control systems with compressed air, and that's probably hard for some of the new generation of kids coming in now. But I went through all the MCC Powers and Landis and Stafa up to the Siemens days.
I bet you knew one of my old buddies, a guy by the name of Don Deadman. He was big with Powers back in the day.
Yes, I do. But you're dating me now, and you really shouldn't do that anymore.
Well, I'm also dating myself. So you know what they say, controls guys don't get older, they just get better looking, right, Brian?
And that in our cases, Eric, with the hairstyle you have, I would be in complete agreement.
Well, thanks so much. I appreciate that. Well, like I said, when we did a little bit of research on you guys, Brian, I mean, you got a tremendous reputation, huge player. Amy Dorn from Allerton just couldn't say enough about you. You guys got a great reputation. So are there any particular projects that you are particularly proud of?
Well, we're proud to be in any building, but we obviously have nameplate customers that we're proud of. We have iconic buildings that are kind of fun. We did the Space Needle.
I saw that.
Yeah, and then Seattle's on fire, the market right now. So downtown Amazon is a big player, and we're doing an awful lot of their work. I'm very thrilled to be chosen for that. And then in our other offices, like out of the Denver office, we do level 3, their facilities across the country. And just about every office ATS has, we have one large account that we travel around or another. And if you think of Northwest companies that are large, that make an impression on the country, it'd be hard to name one that we don't do some business with.
Well, very cool. And I noticed on the website you had one sort of a smaller project. I think it was 800,000 square feet there in Seattle, the Philanthropic Center.
Oh, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. That's the largest charitable organization in the world. We're not particularly good at it, but they are great at giving away money. And they're a fantastic organization, and that's where Bill Gates' office is now. He spends a lot of his time there, and we were very proud to be part of that project as well.
Well, very cool. Well, Brian, a big part of our community that watches Control Trends, we have everybody from integrators to service contractors to consulting engineers, but a large part of the community is also owners. What advice can you give an owner, being a systems integrator like yourself that does these big projects? Are there some common mistakes you see that are kind of made? And what advice could you give our owners out there when it comes to doing a new project and B, a retrofit?
Well, I'm going to go back to people, Eric. The frustration I have when I talk to people around the country is I always hear how much trouble our industry has getting good people and getting trained people and that kind of thing. And frankly, that's a problem you'll never solve by looking for trained people. I really think we owe it to the next generation to recruit heavily out of our schools, out of our communities here, and train them and invest in them. I think that's true broader than just the control industry in America, but we got to get back to basics. And that's what makes ATS great. We hire lots of young people out of colleges. We hire them out of the military. We hire them out of other industries that kind of appeal to us. And we do a ton of training. And before you can get up and talk about steps at integrating, you have to have the right people, have the right training, and put the right tools in their hands and make them want to be here. And that's what I focus on very heavily. And I would tell the industry that's what they should invest in.
Well, very cool. I don't think you're alone in that. You probably know Paul Oswalt from ESSI, and Paul basically said that if half your staff's not under about 25, you're in big trouble. So hats off to you that you've got that trend. And the young man that helped me get the Skype set up, great example. I think of some of the folks you have. So how many people do you have working with you?
I think we're just under 400 now in total. We're 380 or 390, something like that.
Allerton is also up for several awards. What can you tell our community a little about the Allerton product line?
Well, I went through all the chairs, as you pointed out, my age with Siemens, and that was a great experience for me. It was a lot of fun, frankly, moving to Allerton, because at the time they were a pioneer in the BACnet community, and that was kind of a wonderful train to ride. Very innovative company, great product, and good support. And I've really appreciated being part of that. So I got to bisect my career with a big giant guy to begin with, and then a little smaller community. And I really appreciated what I got out of both.
Very, very cool. Well, final question, Brian. So for our owners out there that might be listening, that might want to work with you guys, ATS, how do they get hold of you? And sort of what can they expect from you guys in terms of how they'll be taken care of?
Well, we're easy to get a hold of. We obviously have a website, atsinc.org. And I guess what I would say to them is we are sort of a teaming kind of company. We want to get into a relationship with a customer, and we want it to be there for the life of the building that they have. We're not in it to do a job. So if it's an a job sort of project, probably not as interested. If it's a relationship kind of project, that's what we're trying to build in our business.
We're talking with Brian Allen from ATS out of Seattle. Brian is one of the finalists, and ATS is one of the finalists for the 2015 Control Trends Integrator of the Year. Brian, thanks for taking a few minutes to speak with us.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciated the opportunity today.
Hey, we're switching to the product category now. We got a very unique sort of approach to VAV control. How about tell us a little bit about our next guest?
Next up, Eric, we have Mark Bergeron, the president at Prolon Inc. out of Montreal, Canada. Mark, welcome to the show.
Hey, Mark, man, thanks for taking a few minutes to speak with us.
Well, thank you.
All right, Mark, that's already good stuff. Tell us more about the history of Prolon.
Prolon, we first started that company in 1998, was because there was a lag of small systems. A real niche started there with the new way of doing business. And we wanted to have a small system that will do for the light commercial, that will be special and will do the job for light commercial applications. We didn't want to go with large front end system and stuff like that. So that's how we first started the company.
Well, awesome. Well, listen, we want to thank you on behalf of the Control Trends community. Prolon has come on as a sponsor of the 2015 Control Trends Awards that'll be held in Orlando in conjunction with AHR. So thank you so much for that, Mark.
Well, thanks to you, Eric.
Well, awesome. So you guys, Mark, are nominated for 2 awards. You're nominated for the Best VAV Control Solution as well as Best Tech Support Small Company. So tell us a bit about the Prolon system. What makes it so unique?
Well, Prolon system was designed for a small light commercial application. And there's a niche there that when you don't need a big system or you don't have to install a big system, that will do the perfect job for that. So,
well, I think, embedded in that, we've had the privilege of seeing and actually selling a little bit of your product. And I think what makes the system kind of unique is you really don't need software to program it. It sort of seems like it's really targeted for the contractor that maybe has clients that have VAV systems that want to get better control. And I think probably the ease of setup has got to be one of the best features of it.
Yeah, exactly. It's really easy to install, easy to understand. There's no big front end to buy. The software is free. Really easy to understand how to program it. It's not even programming; it's configuring the system.
More configuring. We actually have a video on Control Trends. We'll put a link in the post to it where you guys actually did a demo for us down at Controls Group North America at the vendor showcase, and it is a very elegant sort of design, I think, Mark, and simplicity is the word. And I think that there's such a huge market now for what Kenny and I call it the race to the small space, if you will, where you've got so many small buildings that up until now really could not afford building automation controls and stuff like that. It seems like you guys are really sort of narrowed in on that niche for the contractors that serve that niche.
Exactly. The niche is really special, and it's probably something like 65 to 70% of the jobs out there are a real small commercial application like that. So it's designed around that to not to cost too much and to be easy to understand for the customer. And also for the future, a building owner can easily do it by himself. So there's no need to have a contractor, specialist or programmer to go every year. There's no licensing, stuff like that. So it's really easy and cost effective for the future.
Very much so. So your sweet spot zone-wise, how many zones can you go up to, and what's your sweet spot?
127 zones can be controlled by Prolon. Usually it's, let's say, 15 to 20 rooftop units with 15, 20 zones each. That's the perfect size jobs for Prolon.
Well, awesome. And you guys are also nominated for Best Tech Support Small Manufacturer. And, just seeing your system is kind of bulletproof. So your tech support people, they're probably like the Maytag repair people. They probably don't get a lot of calls, huh?
No, not a lot. But, we changed the way of doing business with customers. We want to be one-on-one. So when we do a special class, let's say, or we go meet with customers, we want to be one-on-one. So it's really easy. It's not a electronic stuff. You got to go with the real people. So it's really easy to understand and to talk together.
Awesome. Our guest is Mark Bergeron from Prolon, up for the System VAV Controller of the Year, as well as Best Tech Support Small Manufacturer. Mark, how do people get a hold of you guys?
Well, at prolon.net, they can reach us there. And we're more and more in the United States right now with wholesalers almost in every state. Right?
Yeah. I think Prolon is a member of Controls Group North America. And like you said, they have some of the top-notch distributors across the United States and Canada and even Mexico now. So great, Mark. Well, listen, it's probably a stretch to ask you to go to Florida in January, but will you guys be down at the AHR show?
Of course we will be there.
Fantastic.
To meet you guys up there.
Awesome. So for our viewers out there, you can meet the superstars of the HVAC and building automation controls industry, including Mark Bergeron from Prolon. at the Control Trends Awards. Mark, thank you so much for your sponsorship and good luck.
Thank you, Eric.
All right, Kenny, as you know, one of the hottest categories this year is the Systems Integrator of the Year Award. We've interviewed them all, with the exception of our next guest. And last but not least, Alpha Controls and Services. How about introducing our next guest?
Eric, I'd love to. These are some great folks. I have a very interesting story about that real quick. But we'd like to introduce to the show Frank Rotello and Brent Bernardi from Alpha Controls and Services, LLC. Short stories real quick before we get these guys on the show. We were at a CGNA meeting out there in Arizona one time, and Brent and my brother David and I got into a swimming contest. So we swam across the hotel swimming pool, and Brent and I collided, and David went on to win. But Brent was always an amazing competitor. I think he was with Barbara Coleman, Robert Shaw, Inventus, or CB. He was in that series of escalation from the company buying.
Dude, he was, and as a matter of fact, when I called him to set the interview up, he's still talking about that, man. I mean, there's rumors that copious amounts of alcohol were involved in that swimming competition, but given that it's an Olympic year, he'd love to have a rematch with you. So
I can neither confirm nor deny the presence of alcohol.
Wonderful. Hey, without further ado, let's bring these guys on. Frank,
Super.
Brent, welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you, Eric. We're glad to be here.
You bet. Look forward to chatting with you this morning.
Trends community, and we have over 200 and something countries that have voted and nominated so far, fellas. But we didn't write. It's a new category for us at the Control Trends Award, so we didn't write anybody in. And out of over 80 people, you guys received were in the top 7. So you're finalists for the inaugural Control Trend Systems Integrator Award.
Well, for that, we're very excited and appreciative of the controls community and the opportunity to be recognized.
Well, guys, it's really, really important for us to get the history. Tell us about the history of Alpha Controls and Services.
Alpha Controls and Services, the genesis is Barbara Coleman Company. Goes back over 80 years, probably at this point pushing 90 years. Alpha Controls and Services covers central northern Illinois and all of central Illinois. So we have offices in Rockford, Illinois, Springfield, Illinois, and Champaign, Illinois. We are a turnkey contractor, system integrator, so we provide sales assistance, engineering assistance, and not only execution of projects, but also after installation, warranty, post-warranty service, both in the controls area as well as mechanical service.
Well, very cool. So, Frank, tell me a little about your background, and then Brent, I want to hear from you. You guys have been in the controls business for a little bit, I'm guessing.
Just a little bit. Brent mentioned Alpha Controls and Services, the 90 years back to Barbara Coleman. Alpha's will be 13 years in May, is when Inventus at the time decided to get out of the branch business. So
well, congratulations.
Brent and I were at corporate, and we actually put together a proposal to dispose of the branches, and decided that, it might not be a bad idea to get on the other side from the manufacturing. I spent 25 years at Barbara Coleman, CV and Inventus positions in finance, operations, and management, and Brent, the same thing through the marketing side, through management, mostly on the field side with the partners at that time in the wholesale channel, and then general management. And my experience was initially with our branch organizations and joint ventures. And then at the end, we kind of came together as I was managing distribution for the reps at the time, the partners and OEM and wholesale. And we decided that, hey, let's try doing this for ourselves. And they accepted our opportunity. And I got the assignment to help dispose of, and within 6 months, try to sell off the branch organizations. And we negotiated our deal at Alpha. So in May, it's 13 years.
Well, congratulations. I tell you what, and Brent, I think you actually did some training for back, it used to be the Barbara Coleman company. So you talk about a great heritage. Virtually everybody I know did 3 or 4 weeks in Rockford, Illinois during the training to sort of get indoctrinated into the industry. So, what a great pedigree you guys have in terms of a product line. And Brent, were you pretty much with Barbara Coleman's pretty much the same path?
Similar paths. Mine started in engineering, though.
Okay.
I'm kind of unique in the industry as an electrical engineer. Most of the folks in our industry are mechanical engineers. But having started on the manufacturer side, my background and experience had a lot of focus in the building automation systems, electronic control systems, and then, as Frank said, moved into marketing, field management, and then executive management at the company when my career, after 19 years, transitioned to Alpha Controls and Services.
Well, guys, as we know, there's still a lot of old buildings out there with pneumatics and electronic controls, and sounds like you guys would have a distinct advantage with retrofits, considering your backgrounds.
Yeah, I think one of the key things, which is a little bit different perspective than coming up through the industry on that side, we do have the manufacturing perspective, and then also hands-on, working with the independents over the 19 to 20 years in the branch organizations, and then not only that, the technological changes that we went through from pneumatics, electronic controls to DDC, and managing those transitions. I think it's more critical today than ever to understand as you work with your customers to help them navigate through all the changes. We talk about smart buildings intelligence. What does that mean? And understanding how to look with that owner and be able to be their strategic trusted advisor to help them through those technological changes that are actually going on. And then how do you implement and keep your systems, current, cost effectively, and keep your total cost of ownership, in line, so you can continue to migrate and transition with technology.
Well, guys, I want to ask you to expand on that a little bit because, big viewership of our Control Trends community and voting community are owners. And obviously you guys got years and years of experience of seeing owners do projects where they work really well, and you probably see some where they maybe make some mistakes. So for our owners out there, what's some advice you can give them, some do's and some don'ts maybe, and maybe sort of couch that and how, I think, Frank, you sort of touched on that a little bit with how you guys educate your customers, but what are some do's and don'ts, and what are some tips you can give them vis-a-vis retrofit and even new construction?
Well, I think when you look at new construction, the driving factor that we're all aware of is the cost of the project itself. Many times decisions are made relative to field devices, whether they be the sensory devices, the actuation devices, during that construction phase that the owner pays for long term. It's one of the old, you're saving a nickel, but it's going to cost you $1 in the long run. So really looking longer term, looking at the payback. Yes, it might cost you a little more to put electronic actuation or actuation with feedback, but when you can put energy conservation measures into place with the building management systems, when you have feedback from the actual performance of the system, you're actually able to financially see paybacks in 2 to 3, sometimes even less time frame. So from a new construction standpoint, it's a historical trend. It's nothing new now. But it's a penalty that the owner typically pays long term, and it's hard for them to get out of that because you make decisions during that design, during that construction phase that are very expensive to change later, and really only cost you a little bit at the beginning to get the right amount of sensory information, field device actuation, as well as the building management system. From a retrofit standpoint, it's a different world. When we're working with an owner on a retrofit style project, it is a more one-on-one, direct relationship that we have, and many of the shortcomings and issues that we're discussing here don't come into play, because we have the attention of the owner where we can show them financially that investing in, for example, variable speed drives, putting new motors in, for example, on a pump system, on an air handler, putting in a building management system controller, a smart communicating controller versus a standalone controller, we can show them the financial payback on that. So the decision-making process is very different. It's closer, it's one-to-one. It's really at at the CFO level, at the COO level, that you can make a difference in the long-term operation of the facility, which impacts your annual spend on your utilities. Half of the energy consumed in a commercial building is influenced or directly controlled by your building management system. And so respecting that and leveraging that investment is the real opportunity for the owner.
Yeah. I think, Eric, this is your first year for systems integrators to acknowledge them. I think our position in the market is being elevated, especially as you look at the Internet of Things and you start to go to intelligent buildings. If you're not having the right team in place to implement this, and you're trying to implement things after the fact, or you're trying to overlay on a retrofit an existing building, and none of the down systems are functioning, right? It's more cost. So really just trying to educate that owner and have a seat at the table as a strategic partner and be able to provide your expertise with the other partners on that team for that owner is really critical, I think.
Guys, speak a bit, if you would. Are there any particular projects that you guys are particularly proud of? If we go to your website, which is alphaacs.com, you got quite a few just incredible projects. But for you guys personally, was there one that was particularly challenging or one you're particularly proud of?
I think we've got several over the 13 years. One of the ones we're proud of this past year, we're going back talking to our Director of Energy Solutions. We had 9 customers this past year that actually achieved awards and recognition for energy efficiency, sustainability, and one project customer in particular, McHenry County. We've been working with them since the stimulus and the ERA programs, and working closer with them over the last 5 years. They actually won a National Association of County Award, and then they won the Illinois Governor Sustainability Award. So it's one of the oldest awards recognizing building owners for their efforts on operating their buildings comfortably, securely, and efficiently. So we're proud of that. And that's a prime example of really having a champion at that owner that understands, and then bringing the right team of people together to maximize value. In that particular case in Illinois, as you know, with their budget issues, everything they say, then we leverage the utility programs to accelerate their paybacks. But every dime they save goes right back to the taxpayers. They established a green fund so they can continually and take a longer view. And having that, and then getting the confidence that you build on those projects to go to the board at tight budgets to get approval for those projects, because they've seen the track record and the benefits and the paybacks have been key. I guess another large project, the largest one we've done, Brent, you might want to talk about. University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign is the vet med facility and 5 buildings. So you want to talk about that project a little bit?
Yeah, certainly. One of the things we pride ourselves on is being a partner, not only a partner for the owner, but a partner with contractors. The University of Illinois education system embarked a few years ago on a program to leverage the energy services capabilities, the ESCO capabilities that exist out in the commercial marketplace. The first project that they approved and proceeded on was the renovation of the veterinary medicine campus down in Champaign-Urbana. We were fortunate to partner with Energy Systems Group out of the Chicago area to fully automate and renovate the veterinary medicine college at the University of Illinois. It is a research area of the university. It's also a teaching area of the university. There are live animals involved. Their primary facility, their BSB or basic systems building, is a 100% outside air facility because of the laboratory systems, because of the animal, because of the infection control, the other disease control that they have to do. And so it was a huge energy opportunity, but also a very much a challenge, because not only was it automating the facility, it was also educating the occupants and teaching them that the way they've been running this building for 25 years is not the way you want to run it going forward, and you'll have to accept changes. So we were part of not only the installation process, but also the education process, the training, and the ongoing process of the owner taking responsibility and using their facilities differently. As a contractor, as a company in Illinois here, for ourselves, we work in the more rural areas of Illinois. We do not go to the high-rise areas. In the areas we work, the buildings go wide; they don't go high. So it's a very different market. For us, we really pride ourselves in our relationships with cities, counties, with the state. We've done several of the largest projects that have been done in our territory over the last 13 years. We did the Justice Center here in the Rockford area. We did the veterinary medicine. We've just been selected to do 3 of the 5 buildings in the engineering area at the University of Illinois for their next phase of ESCO project. So for that, we're very proud of the team's accomplishments. But better yet, the proven results, the execution on these, multi-million-dollar projects is something that we're very proud of.
I think that's really the key is the type of company we try to build. Coming from the corporate world, we understand we got to focus on our customers. Our employees are a key asset that we have. We've got they're out in front of our customers more than Brent and I. They're the ones that are day in and day out meeting the customer's requirements. So the company we wanted to build was focused on the customer and have our employees and our people meeting those commitments, focused on doing their jobs and then putting the proper systems and things in place that allows us to work efficiently and effectively, across our territory with 3 offices and, jobs that range from small to large. And then we have full line services after for controls and mechanical, trying to put the whole package together to be there with that owner. And we need great people to deliver on that promise.
We've been talking with Frank Rotella and Brent Bernardi, Alpha Controls and Services, up for the 2015 Control Systems Integrator of the Year. Hey, if you like what you see, go to the right side of the Control Trends. The ballot's right there. Click on it and consider voting for these guys. Guys, thanks so much for taking a couple minutes to speak with us.
Thank you guys for the time this morning, and thank the Control Trends community for the nomination. We really appreciate it.
Thank you again, and for everybody that's supported us to this point, and we're anxious to see the final results.
All right, hey man, Scott, that drone stuff was phenomenal, man. Very, very cool stuff. I think we're going to start delivering our packages to our really good customers via drone. If we can get Captain Scott Mensch to sort of create our Air Force of delivery drones.
So it would be StromQuest Air?
There you go. Or I think it's got to be J2 Air. Or J2 Quest Air.
That would be good.
Hey man, welcome to the show. Thanks for taking a few minutes to talk with us. Say hi to our Control Trends Now audience out there, the Smart Buildings Podcast.
Yeah, it's good to hang with you. This is good.
One Scott Mensch from J2 Innovation. If you're a Control Trends watcher, you know that we're big fans of Scott and Jason Briggs, his partner in crime. You guys are always doing innovative stuff, and we obviously put a premium on that. Last time we saw you, were up on stage in Colorado Springs along with Jason Briggs, and dude, you were rocking and rolling, doing another live demo. You like to live out on the edge, right?
We do indeed, yeah. It's just technology. We're technology enthusiasts. We like to take the complex, make it simple, and we like to evolve things. So my hobby here, I figured I'd share with you some of the parallels between drones and the building automation industry.
So this is not a hat for me?
No.
Right.
It would give you a close shave, but only once.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's like, okay, cool. All right. Yeah, well, dude, first of all, how did you get into drones?
Really simple. I had a buddy that is in my past who was my partner in crime with regard to system integration. So a shout out to Technical Building Services in upstate New York. That's where I got my roots. I was a guy that ran pneumatic tubing and then eventually wired up microzone 2s with him. Nice. He says, you got to check this hobby out. And he went in whole hog. You think you're crazy with video cameras? He was crazy with drones with video cameras on them. And so he asked me out to fly one of these one day. John said, let me show you what I got. Carbon fiber the size of a wagon wheel. Wow. A full SLR camera underneath with pan-tilt zoom. This rig took 2 operators. That's really the reason he invited me, because he flew the rig and I got to fly the camera and pitch it.
So you had to have 2 separate rigs, but now you don't have to, right?
Right. You can do flight paths and GPS locks and things like that. So I got hooked. I started out that next Christmas, and I asked Santa Claus for a little one about the size of a DVD, fly indoors, and then kind of progressed up to racing. So there is a whole new facet of things. Imagine a camera, first-person view, flying through the trees with 4 other guys with the same kind of rig.
Well, you actually showed me some video that you had.
I'll provide a link to that.
We'll put some footage on. But so this little guy, about how fast will this guy go?
And he'll do 45, 50 miles an hour through the woods.
Holy
And you're driving it from the front seat of this device, not third person.
So it's actually, you're seeing what it's like if you were going through the woods.
It's the ultimate video game.
Oh,
it really is. That, I think, is the appeal to it.
Well, that's kind of how they describe your the J2 Fin package. It's kind of like the ultimate visualization thing. So you're a visual guy, huh?
I am a visual guy. Yeah, absolutely.
So drones and show me this bad boy.
Yeah. So this is the next level. So this has got headlights. It's got taillights. It's all carbon fiber. Probably weighs 1/10 of that, but is twice as strong.
Yeah.
And protects all the gadgets that go inside. In fact, that's where the parallels start to begin. If you were to break down the pieces that go into a drone, it's really interesting. There's sensors, just like we have in building automation. There's controllers. There's even PID loop. So this is a flight controller, and essentially it's inside each one of these drones, and its job is just like tuning a chill water valve or a hot water valve or a mixed air section. Its job is to maintain level in all 3 axes.
Because I guess these things, if I'm not mistaken, I think you told me that this is the equivalent of 4 little mini VFDs on here, right?
That's right. So that flight controller then talks to a variable speed drive.
Okay.
So I literally have in my hand a 20 amp VFD. So this particular drone is actually 30 amps. So that's 120 amps these things pull.
Wow.
So we're talking performance.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're essentially getting 3 phases of power.
Right.
And it's modulating it, I think, 120 times a second from the flight controller. And then what you're doing is resetting the spinning speed of the motors. And just by varying the proportions between the 4 different props, it'll tilt left if these are going faster. It'll tilt forward if these are going faster. Little known fact, how do you get it to rotate it like this?
To rotate it this way?
Yeah, or that way.
Are you changing the direction of the propeller?
You are. You're actually speeding up opposite corners because these 2 propellers are clockwise.
Right.
These 2 propellers are counterclockwise.
Okay.
And so if you give more to the clockwise, it's going to torque clockwise, more to the counterclockwise.
Wow.
And of course, up and down is literally just give all 4 more power.
More juice.
Yeah.
So are they hard to learn to fly?
They are, but that's the other part of this story that's very similar to the BAS world. Is that software has evolved this industry really amazingly quick. So when I first got into it, you literally would put a stick input into it, and you'd have to remember to put the opposite exact amount just to get back to level.
Wow, okay.
Open source firmware, drop it into the flight controller, somebody makes a suggestion on the forums, there's now auto level. I let go of the sticks, they're spring loaded, the drone will level out.
Nice.
And so on.
Nice.
Even the controllers themselves are now open source. There's the equivalent of a FIN file that I can download to my transmitter. The whole profile of the quadcopter will show up there, all of its settings. I can even put gauges, like I want to show my throttle level on the left-hand side. I want to show my battery level on the right-hand side. It's just like doing a graphic page in building automation.
Very, very cool.
So if you're at all inclined in building automation, then this is definitely the hobby for you.
Dude, that's really cool, but how much does it cost?
Well, that's actually the good news. For instance, this guy right here, a racing drone, out of the box, ready to fly, $80.
Wow.
And the nice part is the drones themselves are the relatively inexpensive. So I probably have $300 on the table, And then the last cost is really a battery charger, a battery fleet, because you got to have lots of batteries, and a transmitter. The great part about the transmitter is you can actually reuse the same exact transmitter for every model. You just store presets in it. So that firmware that you can download the different images also holds the presets. So I would say for a fun hobby, if you drop $300, you would have a very complete racing setup. If you want to go a little bit less expensive, there's some ready-made ones with, let's say, a package transmitter for under $100 from Brookstone. I'll put some links into one of my favorite hobby sites so you can see some of the possibilities.
So how could this be used in building automation, like in terms of security and stuff like that?
Well, there's actually, at the last IBCon, there was a vendor had a table with a couple of drones, and he actually let me fly. He trusts me enough to fly. He's like, damn, you know what you're doing, because it was only like an 8-foot ceiling. I'm zipping up and down the convention hall, and I didn't kill anybody, which was good.
I remember he crashed it on stage. So.
Yeah, that was not cool. I would never do that. In fact, that is a really legitimate thing. We have really strict safety regulations. Part of the AMA, American Modelers Association, has safety programs, and they're really doing an educational objective to make people respect it and really take care of not getting a black eye for a new hobby.
Well, I can imagine if this thing goes 45, 50 miles an hour, this thing comes at you.
Correct.
It could be very dangerous.
Yeah, so a typical event, what we'll do is we'll put up nets like you'd have at a golf course. I mean, it's as dangerous as a golf ball, and that's why there are nets at driving ranges so people don't get bonked in the head.
Do you think, with all the terror attacks, could these be used by bad guys for... Or do they put nets around stadiums and stuff like that now?
That certainly is one of the scenarios that Department of Homeland Security has to look at.
Yeah.
And interesting thing, the last race event, there was a guy in a suit showed up at the event and said, "Who's the best driver here? And tell me what you would do under these scenarios." So I think they're being very proactive about it, and they're getting the best of the best to comment as to what the edges of the technology are. The limiting factor really is the weight. And so, you could pull up a little tiny camera, but you're not really going to bring up a 500-pound bomb or something like that.
Yeah, I'm wondering, like for even police or whatever, first responders or firemen, right? Or somebody, you send a drone in to assess the situation before you go in, right?
Yeah, there's so much more potential for good than there is for evil with drones. In fact, having those eyes as the first responder is really one of the best use cases. Put a drone or a robot where you don't want to put a human over a fire in a search and rescue. There's a number of good examples where they've been able to find a kid that's lost in the woods.
He was showing videos. We actually posted some where the HVAC people were using it, so they would go up and check a unit. If like a drain was clogged, where they actually showed the drone coming down, they revved it up and they blew leaves out of a drain pipe and stuff like that. Or, somebody forgot their keys, or, people are leaving at night, and, your security guy there is sort of patrolling the perimeter with that. Somebody's walking to their car at night, the drone could sort of follow them along with the camera to make sure that they're okay. So
all sorts of possibilities, but right now it's just a kick-ass high-tech hobby for me. And the parallels of what I've learned as a system integrator over the years, it's all right here. Wires, tuning. There's actually PID loop settings inside the flight controller. I'm like, I'm home. This is very comfortable
second nature
to me.
Almost, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about. So let's bring back to J2 and sort of, because you guys, that I stands for innovations. You guys are very innovative. This is an innovative hobby. Talk a bit, if you would, about what you guys are up to.
Well, clearly, FinStack is the big news for us. FinStack as an application server is evolving our BAS industry, just like drones are evolving
for our listeners out there who might not know what FinStack is, because we have a lot of owners, for example, that watch. We have a lot of consulting engineers that watch, a lot of systems integrators. So just in the most sort of basic terms, why should they care about FinStack? What does it do for them that maybe they're not getting already now?
Sure. FinStack really brings together all the information that you have in a typical smart building, smart city. And up to this point, we've done a great job with open protocols getting the device level stuff and the device is talking. But now we're about to get into the information evolution. And in that case, we need to get to the data without a lot of manual effort, and FinStack makes that happen. We do it because of tagging and data modeling and Project Haystack. In a short term, I can't tell you all the details,
Right.
but the takeaway is we are taking the physical labor and we're getting a faster ROI for end users and owners because they can implement strategies globally across multiple systems using a framework that ties it all together seamlessly.
And I know people like KMC are using it now, EasyIO is using it.
That's
They got the
right.
Easy Stack, the KMC Stack. So for our listeners out there, it's not that you weren't able to get the data points before, it
That's
just
right.
wasn't cost effective to do it, okay?
That's a great way to put it.
So you had to pretty much, it was very labor intensive, and then what you guys are adding, you're basically able to pass that information, those points seamlessly through layers to get it where you want to get it. So it's like having a big pipe where the water flows without any resistance, where before you had a lot of resistance. And you mentioned a term I want you to elaborate. Haystack, what is important to Haystack, not just with your product, but for our industry as a whole?
Yeah, so Project Haystack is a community effort to add meaning to those points of data. And so with that meaning, then software can programmatically do things. So all of the applications you find inside of FinStack, our product, is going to leverage those tags and do things magically and automatically. Likewise, other products like Analytics, SkyFoundry's product called SkySpark, work order management systems, even going the other way, like LinkSpring's new Haystack Data Pump. They are essentially adding meaning to those pieces of data so that applications and other things can latch onto it, do something productive with it without all that manual labor.
Yeah, another sort of analogy to the drones, right?
That's right.
You got
It's
this
a
really
community
cool.
of tech.
You got this really cool technology. You got open technology, but now, what can you do with this to make everybody's life a little bit better? So,
Comes down to great software, but the Haystack tagging and data modeling is what's enabling that great software to do what it does.
cool. All right, one last question for you, and we'll sort of wrap it up. So, who are some of your sort of heroes and mentors?
Wow. I saw on the Control Trend Awards announcement of the nomination, certainly Ed Merwin was one.
Yeah, he's great, isn't it? Without Ed, none of this might be happening, huh?
Exactly. And I was really pleased to see that there is in Control Trends the PTOC Award, because Mark has been always a big part of my mentoring. I literally sat between Ed on one side and Mark, one office down on the other side growing up at Tritium. And over that decade of just osmosis of rubbing shoulders with those guys, they left a really positive impact on me.
Both two great individuals. Well, I said one question, but as Rob Allen accuses me, I can't do anything in 7 minutes, but so, as you know, we mentioned the Control Trends Awards, and by the way, thank you very much. J2 is a platinum sponsor. We really appreciate that. You guys.
That's the least we could do. We wanted to step up this year.
Yeah, and as Crow, you guys are up for several awards, so congratulations for
Thank you.
that. You're very welcome. And, we two things. We have the Haystack Connect Award this year. The Haystack Board of Directors is going to be recognizing with the Control Trends Award, the Haystack Award, and you guys will be selecting somebody from that. And by the way, you and Jason are now exonerated from that process, so that if they choose you guys, it's okay. Kenny and I have sanctioned that. We're doing this thing with you. But the other one is the Young Guns. We had our first class of Young Guns, which is basically we're trying to attract younger people into the industry. We had our Young Guns last year. Yeah. We're doing it again this year, Scott. But you've been around, and Scott to me is one of the most articulate, brightest, creative individuals in our industry. So to some of the younger people that are either in our industry already working their way up, or maybe people on the outside that are saying, wonder about this industry. What would you say to the young people in terms of what do you need to do to get good at this industry? I mean, is there a flight path? Is there a flight path you could recommend for them?
That's a really interesting backstory. Is J2 Innovations team is the average age of our company is 24 years old.
Nice.
And when you add in an old fart like me who just turned 50, there must be some really young people to help offset me. And what we've actually seen is the energy of youth and the skills that they're coming with just by virtue of existing as millennials. They know about social media. They're not scared of software. They'll try new things. You can tell them a concept like tagging and data modeling. They're like, of course I get that. That's what Facebook does. Yeah. Why? You don't do that in building automation?
Yeah,
nice. Are you kidding me? And when you tell them that they have to copy, paste, and link, they're like, why would I do that? Why don't I just run a macro and it just takes care of it for me? That whole mentality, that mindset is what we're seeing in the young guns. We call rock stars at J2 Innovations. And we're just wall to wall with rock stars. We have so much great talent in our young company.
Keeps you young, doesn't it?
It does.
As a matter of fact, by the power invested in me as a Control Trends Awards founder, turn towards me. I now pronounce you an honorary
old fart
young gun.
Oh, okay. Because I'm going to be an old fart pretty soon.
Yeah. All right, Scott, let's take the drones out. Let's go deliver some packages,
Absolutely.
man. Thank you so much. Our guest today has
coming.
been Scott Mintz, J2 Innovation, j2n.com. Check them out.
Thank you.
Thanks, buddy. All right, so there you have it. Thank you for tuning in to another week of Control Talk Now, your smart buildings videocast and podcast. Special thanks to our guests this week, Captain Scott Mintz of J2 Innovation and the Drone Patrol, Brian Allen from ATS, Mark Bergeron from Prolon, and last but not least, Frank Rotella and Brett Bernardi from Alpha Controls and Services. With that, Kenny, I'll leave you with have a great week. Remember, stay in control. We will see you next Sunday night at the 2015 Control Trends Awards.
Indeed, Eric.
Indeed, Kenny Smyers.